resources that are available in the community. Therefore, we would come and pick you up when you got out. You would have a place to go from day one. For the people that have absolutely nowhere to go, we pick you up and we'd have a center where you can hang out, and from there you can map out your day, your week. Furthermore, what we'd like to do is we'd like to have the reentry houses, kind of like the sober living houses, a men's house and a women's house, that would have limited stays, and that we would be able to help in education, helping them with a resume, helping with employment, and different employers in the community. And there are employers in the community willing to work with us to help someone get a job, to teach people to learn how to save, to do all these little things. And the Freedom Project would do that. It would be mentoring. It would be peer-to-peer coaching. We talk to people who would volunteer time for counseling and psychological work and teachers. We have a lot of people in the community on board. There's many churches. I've worked with the chaplain from the jails, counselors, the case managers from the prisons, the unemployment office downtown. There's a lot of people at St. John's. There's a lot of people on board, and our resources in our area are thin, and we don't have anything exactly like this in place. When I came out and I called PAN, Prison Aftercare Network, they meet on such and such a night. Say I got out on a Monday and they're not meeting until the following Wednesday, a week later, I needed something now. So the Freedom Project, what we'd initially like to do is set up something where you can come now. And that place would be filled. Say we had a Bible study one night. Say we had different types of meetings different nights, educational classes, relational, anger management, whatever it may be, but offer resources and have people be willing to help. And even going as far as picking these people up and getting them there and assisting them in making arrangements to put a job together, put a place to stay together. Long term, or longer term, we'd like to have houses in place where we can help them at least for a while, and whatever resources we can have.
Kind of like sober living?
Kind of like the sober living houses. Kind of like the houses that are here in town, but only on a different level where there's rules that you need to follow, of course. But once you get on your feet, you would learn the skills necessary to help you get out of there. There's a lot of people that come out of these places that are looking for a free handout. I remember doing time and they handed me this form. Yeah, fill this out and you get Social Security right away when you get out because you're an inmate. And I never wanted a handout.
No.
And the people that this program is for are for those who don't want a handout. The program is for those who want to work and make something and do something.
Have a better life.
It's never too late to change, and you're going to get self-worth by accomplishing. And you're not going to start accomplishing until you start accomplishing the little things. And they add up. I'm living proof that I got out and I had nothing.
What year did you get out?
I got out in 2010, 2011.
Cool.
And so I've been out for a while now. I got clean halfway through a 12-year bit. So I got clean in 2003. I got clean in 2003. And so I've been clean since then.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is.
When you think about it.
It is. I've never... And even though I have a bunch of time clean, each day is a new day. There's always something that I experience that my first thought can go back to criminal or self-centered. But the difference is today I have a thought process that takes me all the way through and keep things rational. Rationalize it, take the emotion out because emotion is going to pass. I had to learn how to identify emotions, what are emotions, and piece all that together. That was a really hard part. If I didn't trust that one or two people when I got out, those people played a crucial role in allowing me to bounce stuff off, directing me to places to go, and helping me build that circle, that foundation of strong men in my life.
And rebuilding your life.
Yeah.
Did you go to sober living or a halfway house?
I did not go to sober living. When I was released from the federal prison, I had to go to a federal halfway house in Milwaukee, down on 27th and Locust, where that was just as much fear going there as it was going to prison. And I wanted out of there. And as soon as I wanted out of there, I had a whole plan. My whole time in prison, I was going to go live at a place. And when I got out, that fell through. And they said no. And my backup plan was guaranteed. And then they said no. And I had to learn to utilize some of the skills I had been taught to rationalize the situation. And I was able to, through communication and being honest and integrity, I was able to talk, and plan A eventually did work out. Not in my timing, it was in God's timing, but eventually it worked out. And those relationships today are probably some of the strongest relationships in my life.
And you're still in contact with some of them?
I'm still in contact with all of them.
Wow. That's awesome. And you still go into What is it, the jail and prisons to give back? And
I go into GBCI on Wednesdays. I go into the county jails on opposite Wednesdays and Thursdays. And occasionally we'll go speak at different treatment centers and youth centers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still do all that. It reminds me where I came from. Yep. I'm no better than anybody else, and I have a lot to be grateful for on any given day.
Yeah, and you were still... Are you still on parole? Didn't they accept you to go in there while you're on parole? I was out for a year when they allowed me to go back into the prison. I was out for a year and a half, and they allowed me to go back into the jail. That's a miracle right there.
I got off parole for the first time in my adult life a little over a year ago.
Wow.
I've able to... All the stuff from your past that you had to deal with, I had to go through and deal with all that. My children... Mm-hmm. The child support issues, old bills, student loans, and I went through all of that. And today I'm looking to buy a home. I have good credit. I have money in the bank. I bought a vehicle. I don't have any problems financially. I'm employable today. I go to work every day. I'm able to maintain relationships in my life today. But it was in the beginning when my plans fell through that I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn how to do life when things don't work out and those feelings come in. You know, thankfully I had a higher power to understanding God and a little bit of spirituality to build on. And I've been building on that every chance I can get, and that really carried me through. Mm-hmm. That Freedom Project, I would like to begin, is faith-based and only faith-based, and we don't care what faith you have as long as you have a faith. Mm-hmm. You're willing to do some type of community services, some way of giving back, because I believe giving back is very rewarding. Mm-hmm. I believe giving back can keep you humble and grateful from where you came from. Mm-hmm. And it's also a good reminder if I should decide to go back to my old ways, that's always there, and that don't change.
That's right.
And if I got that far, you never know if you pick up again if you're going to end up dead. Mm-hmm. That's always a real possibility too.
Yeah, it's a good reminder to not make those same mistakes. I know for me, for any type of service work or giving back, just knowing that I easily could go back to wherever, you know, and I want to do that today. So I also have a reading. We do a reading out of the book of Awakening. It's talking about having the life you want by being present to the life you have. So, do you want to read the book? I'll let you do it. Thank you, Bruce.
What we hold dear can heal the world. There's an ancient story of a group of pilgrims searching for the Holy Land. They wandered for days to the bank of every wide river. It was too deep to cross, and there was nothing to build with. One of the pilgrims prayed for guidance, and a voice appeared urging each to give up something they held dear. From this they could build a raft. For only that which they held dear would be strong enough to hold them up as they crossed into the Holy Land. There was immediate conflict and suspicion. The one who heard the voice was accused of trying to steal what mattered the most to everyone. Finally, 4 of the stranded pilgrims agreed. Each offered what seemed useless to the others: a stone, a feather, a piece of driftwood, a page from a book no one understood. Mysteriously, as they slept, the dearness they had placed in these things flowed together, and they woke to find a magnificent raft. Once on the other side, the one who gave up the feather heard another voice. It said the Holy Land was right where they had landed. The 4 pilgrims sailed on the far bank within view of the others who would not cross. That night, they burned the raft to cook their food, and the voices told them that the Holy Land is whatever you hold dear holds you up and then turns to food. The wisdom carried in this ancient myth is that what we fear is most private, mysteriously belongs to everyone. That is, once shared, the things we hold dear release a power that is healing. This is not to say that we should give up what is healing us in the midst of its becoming dear to us. Rather, the story urges us to relinquish personal icons so that they may continue to heal others. It reminds me of a relic of a saint someone gave me when I was ill, a chip of bone from someone centuries ago who began a religion I was not a part of. But as I held this relic and prayed and worried and sweat through my terror, it became precious to me. Once well, it became a sacred charm for me, until one day the person who gave it to me fell terribly ill and needed it back. I was afraid to give it up and felt naked without it, but giving it up made everything holy. I have since, when the time proved right, given away other precious things I have lived with, crystals and books and personal treasures I have long enshrined, for only in use do they again become healing. It is the giving of what is dear that helps us cross the river.
I like that reading.
That's good.
I like that book too. It's just kind of a positive thinking.
Nice.
Yeah. Always wanting what you can't have. That's what it reminded me of. Thinking, or what is that one saying?
I have a saying I like. The reason most people fail to succeed is because they trade what they want most for what they want for the moment. That's an instant gratification.
Yeah. As an addict, can relate to that. Try not to, though. Try to think of everything as the long term. Don't need everything now. I can be grateful for what I have. But yeah, I also have some other statistics in here. I forgot to read a few of them. One of them was 69% of female state prisoners and 72% of female jail inmates met the criteria for drug dependence. And that's 57% and 62% for men. We're not, that's nothing new to us. But some people don't realize that. Do you feel like...
I feel like when I was in jail and when I was in prison all throughout my whole life, I would say that the stat is about 99%. It's in the 90s for sure.
Kind of low.
Somebody is always under the influence of one thing or another, or in the process of finding ways and means to get more, or create an act of violence due to something caused by that. So yeah, I think it's much higher than that from my experience in the system.
Yeah. I would agree. So I also have a joke. I do a joke of the day, part of the podcast. So this one is, why do crackheads prefer to do it doggy style? Any guess?
I'm terrified to ask.
So one person can look for crack on the ground while the other one watches out the window. Goofy. That one I had to do. I was like, oh, that's a good one. Kind of gross, but good. So thanks again, Bruce, for coming and sharing some of your experience, strength, and hope, and talking about some of the things that, we can do better, and also just your personal experience. It was greatly appreciated.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was great. And you can check out Recovery Talk on Recovery Talk /Facebook, and also on Spreaker.com. We're always looking for more guests. You can email me at recoverytalk@gmail.com. So thanks for listening. Our next episode will be out January 1st.